Well, hello, friends, family, and those of you all come to join us. Today is October the 11th. It's approximately 3:20. It's a Monday. It's kind of rainy, and I'm here with Floyd, Theodore Floyd Rollins, and he's here to give us some information about his life and all that he's seen and done. He's 86 years old. He's seen a lot. He's done a lot. And just like our people did in the past, I want to sit at the feet of the elder and let him instruct me and impart some wisdom. And as he's doing that for me, I want to share with you. Now, interesting thing about my relationship with Floyd, we met in NBUF, the National Black United Front, approximately about a little more than 20 years ago. And as we grew closer to one another, he found out that I didn't know my father. And when you say father to me, I would get a blank. It was emptiness. There's always been a yearning to have something put in that place that represents for me father. And then I found out he didn't have any children. He didn't have a son. So we agreed that he'd be my father and fill that empty space, and I'd be his son. And thus, from that point on, I started calling him my Pops. And Pops is going to share with us now and give us a little briefing of his life story, where he began in Florida, how he developed, made his way up north, all the endeavors that he went through when he was here, his marriages, his accomplishments, things that he felt that he could have done better, things that he hadn't got a chance to do yet, but he still had the opportunity because he's still with us. So let Floyd speak for himself. Okay, what's your name, sir?
My name is Theodore Rollin Floyd.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 86 years old.
And you,
Born November 23rd, 1934.
back during those times when you was growing up, what was life like in Florida for the average black family?
As you know, Florida's in the South. And in the South during that time, there was a lot of discrimination, a lot of Ku Klux Klan activity, and so forth. And things weren't too good for black people in the South at that time. But we managed to survive. My mother used to take in laundry, white people's laundry, and wash and iron and do all that stuff in order to try to make ends meet. So, and I was very close to my mother. Anytime she would be cooking, I'm the one that would be in the kitchen helping her, especially to make sure that I get my share. Yeah, I had three brothers, two other brothers, and I had two sisters. At that time, my two brothers, one whose name was Adolphus, who assumed the name of Yogi Cortez because he was a contortionist. He could ball himself up in little knots and stuff, and nobody knew how he did it, but he was double jointed, and he could do all those kind of things. When in order to help my mother, I had two jobs. I distributed the Daytona Beach Morning Journal newspaper and distributed the Daytona Beach Evening News. And shortly after I got those two jobs, I got another job where I delivered groceries at Mr. Currington's grocery store that was on the corner of South and Campbell Street in Daytona Beach, Florida.
How old were you when you was had those jobs helping out around the house and kind of helping your mom?
About 10, 11.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And from that experience in terms of working, helping make provisions, how did it mold your character?
Well, I learned to work at an early age. I learned how to make money, how to count money, how to save money, or whatever. Of course, now I wasn't that fair toward my mother because when I make my money, I'd take all the kids in the neighborhood to the movies and spend all the damn money. And my mama was struggling, trying to make her ends meet by doing all kind of odd jobs for white folks, I really wasn't fair to my mom.
So, but you had a sense of sharing.
Yeah.
You developed that sharing
yeah.
and caring for others very early in your life.
Oh, yeah.
And that continued through the rest of your life, I see.
Oh, yeah.
And as far as your desire to become part of the culture and contribute in terms of your contribution, what professions did you contemplate getting into, and what started you thinking in that direction?
But let's go back. My mother got killed when I was 12 years old. And my father, who was living in St. Petersburg, Florida at the time, came and got me. And I had two sisters, but my two little sisters went with my aunts on my mother's side. And they were scattered all over the country, But I went with my father to St. Petersburg, Florida. There, I had a village. And the village raised me. So I developed, early, I didn't get into no trouble, didn't use dope, didn't use, alcohol and all that stuff. Because, the village looked after me, and nurtured me and whatnot,
In terms of education, how was that accomplished in terms of your village assisting you?
Well, when I was in Daytona Beach, Florida, I went to school part-time in Daytona while I was growing up, doing, even before I got these jobs, I was in school. And actually, I guess I took after my mama, because my mama was a brilliant lady. She was smart. Yeah. And I went to school in Daytona Beach, Florida. I think that I went up to the 7th grade while I was in Daytona Beach. Then I went to St. Petersburg, and then I, started completing my other education, 8th grade, 9th grade, up to 12th grade, yeah.
And after 12th grade, then what was your endeavors?
Well, I wanted to go to college, didn't have the money, so I joined on.
Oh, okay. What year was that?
Let's see, I graduated June 6th of 1953, and June 30th, 1953, I was in the Army.
And was a war ensuing during that time
Well,
period?
that was during the time of the Korean conflict.
Oh, okay. How did that impact your military career, the Korean conflict?
Well, I didn't see no action. And the Korean conflict was just about over. you know, so I didn't get a chance to go overseas, fight nobody, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I endured a whole lot of uh, discrimination, I believe, while I was in the army. And you probably can, what do they call it, identify with that because you were in the Navy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doing the same? Yeah.
So, you know what I'm talking
I
about.
know what you're talking about.
So, I was in the service from June 30th, 1953 to October 13th, 1955. And I got discharged. I got a general discharge on an honorable condition. The reason I got this general discharge is because, you know, I had been in the 3 psychiatric hospitals. One in Fort Bragg, one in Chelsea Naval Hospital, and one in Valley Forge Hospital in Pennsylvania. And the reason I believe that I was discriminated against because, you know, I saw several other white soldiers who had the identical kind of
Credentials?
things that I had, you know, going to the psychiatric ward and all that kind of stuff. They were given medical discharge. And I had to go before a 209 board. I had to go before a board who would determine how I would get out of the army. So they determined that I should be discharged under Army Regulations 635-209, which said that I was unadaptable to military life because of ineptness. And I was never inept.
I know.
So, as a matter of fact, I'm fighting that battle right now, trying to get my Army records changed from general discharge to a medical because I deserve it, you know. And the way the Army did me, I think they did me real dirty. So I got people working on that right now.
You had related to me a story that you had when you went to Washington, D.C. and you took some letterhead and was able to manipulate that letterhead and give you some special privilege. You remember telling me that?
Yeah.
Clear me up. How did that? What took place?
That was in 1955. A communications caught up with me from the NAACP youth company, telling me that President Eisenhower, they were going to have a youth legislative conference at American University, and that President Eisenhower was going to be the main speaker.
Oh, okay.
So I went to my company commander, and I told him, I said, listen, I need to go to this conference. I got this communication from the NAACP youth conference that said the president's gonna be there. And I kept doing this day after day, going to the company commander, and I finally told him, I said, listen, you know, I know the president. I know the president, and I need to go to this conference. And he finally gave me a 3-day pass to go to the conference. Okay, I go to the conference. I go to Washington, D.C. When I got to Washington, D.C., I found out that an organization that I had been a part of was having a reunion. So instead of me going to the Youth Legislative Conference at American University, I went to the reunion and stayed there all weekend and became AWOL. They locked me up in the stockade in Virginia. And I found out that Steve Brown, a columnist with the Washington Post, who had went to that same encampment that I went to, was at the Washington Post. So I called Steve. I said, Steve. And the name of the place was the Encampment for Citizenship. I called Steve. I said, Steve, EFC 52. That's the year that I went.
Mm-hmm.
He said, hi, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Then I told him, I said, listen, I'm being discriminated against. and I'm in the stockade and I need to get out of here and go back to the camp. He called a black major who was in charge of discrimination in the armed forces, who was sitting at the White House. Within 10 hours, I was out of prison, I was out of the stockade, I had transportation requests, I had money in my pocket, and orders from the White House. And I went back to camp. And okay, you AWOL, you gotta go, you gotta be court-martialed. I said, no, here's my order from the White House. And I talked to the president, and the president told me that he's gonna consider giving you a promotion. Now that was telling my commander that.
Yeah.
And that's how, and from then on, until I was discharged, I lived a life of Riley
All right.
in the Army.
Wow. That's definitely an interesting story. And as you went through your Army career and you got discharged, where did you finally locate?
I went back to St. Petersburg.
Okay.
That was 55, 56. And I did a whole lot of little odd jobs. And then I got a job with the Afro-American Life Insurance Company, where I was traveling Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, doing rehabilitating the district by selling more insurance.
And that was during the segregation, when segregation and discrimination was high in that, during that time.
Oh yeah. And the first place I went was Montgomery, where I met Dr. King.
You actually met him face to face.
And I would attend his meetings every time he had a meeting. I was a member of the Montgomery Improvement Association, which was his organization, and I would meet with him, you know, meet with his staff, meet, you know, with the organization, you know, but I didn't have no real
official position?
No real position with him because I was working with the insurance company.
And that was during the Jim Crow era.
Yeah,
when a lot,
55.
Yeah.
That was 55. Mm-hmm.
And did you encounter any of that?
Not really.
Okay.
Not in Montgomery.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
And was that the only organization that you was a part of during that particular time period? Or were there other affiliates?
No, in Montgomery, that was the only organization that I was part of. And you know, when I was in Montgomery, we lived a block and a half from his house.
From Dr. King's house?
Yeah. We were living in the Benmore Hotel, which was about a block and a half from his house. Yeah. On,
Excuse me.
I think it was, no. I forget the name of the street. But anyway, the only time I heard Dr. King preach
Excuse me.
was at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery. And his sermon was a vision of a world made new. That was the title of this sermon. I'll never forget it.
Okay.
I mean, I can't remember all the details, but I, remember the title of it anyway. But after I finished that stint traveling with the insurance company, I went back to St. Petersburg. That's where I got the job in the first place. Went back to St. Petersburg, and by that time it was 1958. So when I got back to St. Petersburg, they had built a junior college. It was called Gibbs Junior College. So I enrolled in Gibbs Junior College, where I was the editor of the school paper, and I was president of student government.
Okay, so there you go. That's when you start honing in your skills in terms of journalism.
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you do once you got those positions and you got that training? What did you carry it to next?
When I got out of junior college, I spent 2 years at 58 to 60. 58 to 60. And, I had hooked up with the Republican Party in St. Petersburg. And the reason I did that is because at that time, Pinellas County, where I lived, was the only Republican county in the state of Florida. And in order for you to do anything, you got to be a Republican. So I joined the Republican Party and honed my skills in politics. And that was in 60. In 61, I ran for mayor of the city of St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay. Now, was that during the time before the Republican Party had converted and changed their direction in terms of starting out to be pro-black and looking out for black folks and their interests to becoming party to the Jim Crow era?
Yeah. As you might know, during the time of Nixon presidency, black people fared better under Nixon than a whole lot of other presidents. He said the money was flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a whole lot of stuff for black folks so they could re-elect him.